We are back today. We got some good stuff. I took a day off Friday, mainly just because there wasn't a whole lot of um, anything substantive of quality that I really wanted to bring to your attention. So I save, if you see a video come up on here, it's going to be a good video. There's going to be lots of good stuff, and it's going to be fresh. It's going to be stuff that I'm excited to talk about. I'm excited to share with you about, and that I really believe in my heart that it's going to impact the ability for our portfolios to make a lot of money. I mean, not a little bit of money. I am talking a lot of money. So, first of all, today we're going to talk about the pace of things. So, just understand that we are, I guess in the beginning we had talked about there, is it going to be a V-shaped recovery, a U-shaped recovery? The pessimists think it was an L-shaped recovery. So, in other words, a V-shape is it goes down, it's not really much of a bottom, and then it goes right back up. Okay, we did see that for a little bit. It went down and then it went up. And what happened is if they had kept the same metric where they counted deaths in ICUs and hospitalizations, we would have probably seen a V-shaped recovery. But then they changed kind of moved the goalposts and they said, okay, we're not going to talk about deaths and ICUs because, in the news, you don't get ratings on it when the numbers go down. Hey, when was the last time you turned on the news and the anchor said, hey, good news, everybody, there were no murders today. There's no break-ins. There's nothing else. And they just showed, kind of human interest stories about a guy who just got a new puppy. Like, it's going to get a 0 rating, and they know it. So, but when they can talk about cases, well, now we're in control of that because the government has an interest in actually ramping up testing, which testing is good. But, like, if you have 5% of the people who are getting coronavirus, and you have 1,000 people tested, you're going to get, 50 people that'll test positive. But if you're doing 10,000 people, then you're going to have 500. And you're like, oh my gosh, we had an increase of 10 times the number of people that tested positive. Well, no, you didn't. You just expanded the amount of people that you tested. It's like, if you have a high school class of 300 and, and you test 10 people and you say, how many went to college? And they said 8. It's like, oh, cool. We had 8 people go to college. But then if you say, well, we have 300 people in the class, we're going to test and we're going to look, and 200 of them applied to college or want to go to college, and then 150 went to college. You're like, yeah, we went from 8 to 150. I mean, come on. Like, everybody knows, anybody that knows anything about statistics knows it's a bunch of crap. So anyway, it's not a V-shaped recovery because the public mood reacted to the change of how kind of what they talked about, the goalposts being moved, and how public policy even changed from deaths in ICUs, and we got to save the healthcare system from being overrun, to just, oh my gosh, we got to get these crazy big numbers down, which they're not really crazy big numbers. It's just you're testing a lot of people, and you're going to get big numbers. If you test on a high scale, you're going to get numbers at a high scale. It's as simple as that. So then you talked about a U-shaped recovery where it goes down and it has an extended bottom, and then it goes up. And maybe that's where we're at right now. I don't know. So, but the good news is a U-shaped recovery has a back side U where things go up. So you don't want to make decisions or change your mind when you're on the bottom part of the U. Okay? And then there's the L-shaped recovery, which is the pessimist, right? And there's an L-shaped recovery where it goes down and it never comes back. But anybody that understands human behavior, economics, statistics, and probability, has taken any calculus or statistics class, understand that's just not going to happen. Just never will. When you have a low price, you have more buyers. So when it's down here, you're going to have people buying, and it will bring the price up. The same thing happened when everything went down. You had a whole bunch of people that identified deeply distressed stocks, and they're going to buy, and they're going to jump in the stock market. You might be one of those people where you normally wouldn't, and I'm definitely one of those people. So with that being said, we'll talk about a couple things today. So overall, there wasn't really a big jump except for, I think, one stock that we had in the portfolio, and it was an upwards jump, which is good, I guess. And this was our stock, AVCT, American Virtual Cloud Technologies, and this one went up at one point 20%, 21%, and it settled in at about 8.5% for the day, 5.5% after, almost 6% after hours. So I don't know, 13, 50, 14%, something like that. So that's not bad. But everything else, was up 2, down 2, up 3, down 3. more down 3 than up 3, but it was relatively flat, mainly because people aren't moving. They're trying to see, you have some people that think the market's going to jump up immediately, and so they're not going to sell anything, which is fine. And then you have other people that are hesitant to get in because they don't know if the market's going to come back. It's a crazy time. It's the time where you take their cue and to say, listen, unless there's a compelling reason to move, there's no real reason to make a decision. And we did make some moves today, so we'll talk about that today. Beyond that, let's see, the only other one that went down a little bit was Caesars. That is our El Dorado Resorts, and I'm not really sure why this one went down. It's probably just because you have states that are either moving from phase 2 to phase 1, or it's an extended period of time. But this one is the most dominant casino conglomerate in Las Vegas. There's no way I'm going to sell it. 80% buy here. Like, there's absolutely 0% chance we're going to do it. If anything, we might actually go in and try to actually buy and lower our cost basis on here. So I think what we're going to do is we are going to flag. Yeah, actually, I don't even think we're going to do that. We'll talk about why we're not going to do that. All right. Soho, that's another hospitality one. We saw that one go down 7 today. And I think part of it is just that people are getting impatient. It's the summer. They expect everything to open up faster. But it's like you have these governments that are eager, these politicians that are eager to take the power that they've claimed that nobody's ever challenged them on and basically become the center of attention and shut things down. In California, we have the same thing. I mean, we have one county that has one corona death in the entire, I think it was El Dorado County in California, has 200,000 people in it, and they have one corona death in like the whole corona. And they're on the government watch list, which is just absolutely insane. Like, it's just so stupid. And so what happens with that is you get a state like California enacting these draconian lockdowns when it's totally unnecessary. And then you have New York, and this really isn't new, but you have New York, which always competes with California to see who can have the most authoritarian, fascist policies. And they've been doing this for the last 15 years. Every time one of them comes up with something really stupid but new, the other state goes, oh, wait, we never thought about that. Let's see if we can authoritarian them. And so you're starting to see that happen in those two states. All right. Then we have Valaris, and this one is a petrochem company. Is it? No, I take it back. This one is actually air transportation. So this one went down 6% today, and they are based out of, where are they based out of? Mexico City. So again, just kind of an international airline play. Speaking of play, we have Dave & Buster's. They went down 8% today, and I think that's just a fact of they have these places where, they're going to have people playing video games and in a closed space. They're always indoor, and you're going to start to see people pull away from that a little bit. But this is one of those places where people absolutely are going to cram. Once the mood lifts a little bit, you're going to see people rush to these. And again, it has an 83%, well, I was going to say 83% hold, a 17% buy. It has 108,000 people that are investing in this right now. So, this one will have its day, and we're going to talk about that a little bit when we talk about what we did today. And then we have Condor, and this is a REIT. And they do extended stay hotels, full service hotels, etc. But they have kind of a mix of different hotel properties. Not a lot of people own it. To be fair, it's 462, but it went up 5% today, which is fine. I don't own it, so just wanted to at least list it while we're there. All right. So with that in mind, we'll go to our portfolio, and over last night into this morning, I put in a limit buy for Red Robin Group because we had it at, I want to say it was like $16 or $13 a share. What was it? I could probably eyeball it. Yeah, it was close to like $16 a share. No, it was like $13 a share. And we put in a buy at $8.25. We ended up bringing it down to $9.75. VVI is Viad. They used to be Greyhound, but they do a lot of travel and entertainment reservations. And this one has responded positively whenever the mood has gone up, more so than, more than, kind of what would be representative for other stocks in the travel and tourism and recreation business. So we decided, okay, we're going to basically put another buy in for them. And I think I had them at, I want to say it was close to like 19. Is it 19? Yeah, maybe 18 or 19. So we bought it in at 14, lowered it down to 17, which is good. And part of that was to get this down from like 25 to 30% down to 16%. So as the stock goes up, you're going to see us, break into the black sooner, and we're going to make more money when it goes up past there. On top of that, we did ICAGI, which is the European airline conglomerate. They do British Airways, Iberia, I believe, and some other ones. And their numbers in Europe, they're not testing the way we do here. They only test people when they go to the hospital. So if you ever see statistics where they say, oh, we have way more coronavirus positive tests than anywhere, including Europe. Well, yeah, like you could go into McDonald's and they could test you theoretically. I mean, you can get tested anywhere, all over the place, anywhere you want. But they're only testing in Europe if you go to the hospital. So those raw positive numbers are just not even comparable. It's apples and oranges. And so with that being said, you're going to see people flying back and forth. And plus in Europe, if you wanted to go from, let's say, Scotland to Greece or to Ibiza, you have to fly. So just the train network's not really going to get you there. So that one's going to work pretty well. So we decided to buy that at $5, and we didn't have that before. So this is basically a reinvestment in there. Ended up buying it at $4.82 instead of $5, which was really good. And so overall, we're looking pretty good. We're up 24% for the portfolio. We have some in the red here, which is fine. GNC is my little flyer. That might die a slow death. It might pop up a little bit. Who knows what's going to happen. But IVR, which is a REIT, PBF, which is an energy stock, they're going to pop back up soon enough. But, they're not down too much for the most part. And again, we're kind of in this stagnation period. So if we're looking at a place where we only have a handful of ones that are in the red, and we have other ones that are in, multiple ones that are over 100% gain and close to 200% gain, then we're doing really, really good. Red Robin, we got back in and we lowered the cost basis on that. So instead of being at 25 to 30% down, we're only at 14. So as it moves up, we only have to gain about 350 to break even, which is really not that much. Velocity, we're going to talk about that in a second. They do mortgage refis. Actually, let's start it right now. So I decided I want to free up some money. We just bought some stocks here, and some of it's on margin. So I wanted to sell some just to reduce the margin out. So we put a limit order of sell for Velocity. I bought it at 375. We'll sell it at 376. So once it pops its head above there, which is not much, it's only basically 12 to 13 cents. We'll put that sell in. And then Service Corporation, that is one where they do entertainment as well, but I don't really have a big stake in it, so it's not the end of the world. It's up 52%. Basically, if it gets up to 660, it's at 650 right now. Once it gets to 660, we'll sell that, and basically when these two fill, it clears another $300 for us. But with the ones that we did today, we had high upsides. For Red Robin, we had 450. For Viad, we had 450. And for ICAGI, we had 330, which is really good. Menlo is a biotech company, so that one is 100% buy rating. So if it gets down to 140, we'll put the buy in. If not, I'm not really worried about it too much. And XAN, it's going to take a little bit to get back up there. They do commercial real estate, so they're probably the one that is probably getting hit more than anything right now, but we'll see. We're down 30% on that one. It's not really the end of the world. I have I have decent amount, close to 4,000 in there, but that's a long-term play anyway. And when we start to see things pop up, you're going to see this one jump up as well. So as far as the upside listing, we pretty much own everything in the top. Dave & Buster's, we're holding off on, even though it's at 3.5% upside, has a 70% buy rating, and no notable consensus on buy targets, so we'll leave that one alone. Basically, this is the same as what we talked about Thursday. We did do ICAGI, which we will turn to green. But overall, doing really good. MFA is pretty much stagnant. I think we're really happy where things are at right now. And I got to update the projections because I didn't add that in there. So we'll take a look and see where that's at. But for right now, overall, kind of go back to here. Overall, we want to take advantage of the fact that stocks are down a little bit, basically reduce our cost basis, and then when things go back up, which they will soon, we're going to talk about that in a second, we'll be in a good place. Now, keep in mind there's a lot of uncertainty when it comes to the election, and as we're, 3 months, was it August, September, October, 3.5 months away, roughly, almost 3 months away. There's a lot of question on that, but for right now, the big question is kind of where things are going. So I wanted to show you, and I know if you don't live in San Diego, this doesn't directly affect you, but they do. The San Diego Union Tribune, our paper, does a great breakdown of statistics, and I'm a stat geek. I love looking at statistics, and they basically give everything. Now, when it comes to statistics, it's not so much what they say, because statistics are really easily to manipulate and to use as propaganda, but you have to notice what they don't include. And so over the last few days, I had listened to this press conference and watched one of them on YouTube from the governor here in California, Gavin Newsom, who's a total tool. And he has every statistic out there seemingly, but he never talks about deaths. And so one of the things that we looked at today is there were, again, another day with no reported deaths. Now, we have 3 million people in the county. And in what? We have basically February, March, April, May, June, July, 6 months. We have only 27,000 confirmed cases. And that's either having it or, who knows. But let's just say it's an accurate number, 27,000. That's nothing. 27,000 divided by 3 million, it's nothing. And then over that time, we have 500 deaths, and that's people that either die because of COVID or just they died and they happen to have COVID. So maybe they crashed a motorcycle or got shot or got hit with a hammer or had an aneurysm. Could be any number, but that's the number of deaths we have. And we had none yesterday, right? So as we go down, if you look at the amount of testing we're doing, they have really ramped up testing lately. And that happens to be the exact same time when you see an uptick in total positive cases. But at the same time, you look at our test positivity, and I think at the high it was 625. The average in the state of California right now is like 8, and in some counties it's like one of the counties was at 17%. So we're under there, and we're ticking downward. So when you look, and you might say, well, Matt, what about the hospital bed situation? We want to save the healthcare industry. Well, this is our bed capacity. And even with all the elective surgeries going on, I have somebody that's doing one this week, right? All the elective surgeries going on, we still have 2,000 free hospital beds. So that's with everybody they could jam in a hospital. They still have 2,000 free hospital beds. And we are currently having 422 beds in a town of 3 million people with 6,200 hospital beds. Only 420 of them are COVID. So this is not a problem. This is not a healthcare emergency. In San Diego County, it's not a pandemic. And I don't even think it's an epidemic at this point. I think we have probably more flu than we do COVID. So deaths by day, you can eyeball, the trend is right around 2 per day. There's the 2. The average is about 2 per day. And if you want to get technical, you could say 3 or 4, but still, we have 3 million people here. So then you say to yourself, okay, who's died recently? Well, first of all, where has it happened? They've died. It's only by the border, and it used to be out here. So this area used to be this color, but now this is getting better. So it's only by the 2 border entry points. So that's something you want to consider. And this is some of the densest housing in San Diego. So I'm sure that plays into it as well. So then you go by the deaths, and we look at the most recent ones we have here. So today is the 27th. We didn't have anything on the 26th or the 25th. So 2 days, no deaths. Before that, look at the ages on these. 93, 58, 91, 60, 81, 73, 83, 65, 80, 66, 81, 67, 68. We'll go back to the next one. Check this out. 44 with conditions, 91, 77, 82, 80, 88. I mean, the numbers are just staggering. 97, 91. I mean, these people are going to die anyway. And I don't mean to sound cold, but it's like if you have a disease that takes somebody and they're 100 years old, I mean, they were a broken hip away from dying anyway. And I have two parents, both in their 80s, or one's in their 80s, one's in their 70s. My wife has her parents that are in their mid to late 70s. And if I live to be 97, I don't care if I get hit by a bus, whatever. That's an amazing thing. But you'll notice here, none of them are young. Look at all of these people. They all had underlying medical conditions, all of them. And when you go back to the most recent one, all of them have it except for this one guy who's 58. And that's just your anomaly. But even then, he's 60 years old. So this is not a problem. And the reason I bring this up is because basically everything that happens will come home to roost. You're going to have people start to realize that it's not hitting younger people. Okay, I'll show you one other thing. Let's see if we have it on here. I want you to check this out. So this one here is an article that came out of England. There is not, and they did a study of all the cases around the world, all the contact tracing, everything that we know today. And they say there's no known case of teachers catching coronavirus from pupils. There's not one known case. So you have all these people saying, oh, we got to shut down the schools or teach remotely. And literally, there hasn't been one instance of it happening. And so some of you guys might be saying, okay, well, it could happen. It's like, all right, well, yeah, I could run a 3-minute mile by the end of the year. But seeing as how I've never run a 3-minute mile, and to be fair, I haven't run a 4-minute mile or a 5-minute mile. I've run a roughly 6-minute mile. But seeing as how I haven't run a 3-minute mile by the end of the year, the odds of it happening, if it's never happened before, are pretty much zero, right? So if I've never been able to dunk a basketball. If you say, well, Matt, you could dunk a basketball. Yeah. There's like a 1 in a million shot that I could dunk a basketball. But I wouldn't exactly bet money or make decisions based on something that has never, ever once happened in the entire world. Like it's never happened. And so you have people that are saying, okay, we need to close down schools. Or you have some people that are saying, let's open up schools. But like you look at the data on this and there's nothing there. And eventually you're going to start to see more of this information come out. And people are going to realize that this thing is overblown. And they're going to be looking at these stock prices going, holy cow, and things are going to take off. I think you also have there's a rebelliousness part of everybody where they look at, it's one thing if a business says, listen, we want you to wear a mask in our store. And I'm fine with that. That's totally cool. I'll be respectful of them. It's their business. By all means, they'll do it. But there's a part of American culture, obviously, that says, if you ask me nicely, I'll do it. If you tell me to do it, I won't do it. So I was thinking about this last week, and it's like, basically, this is kind of this is the undercurrent of what happened with the whole mask thing. I mean, I'm not going to get into an absolute tool of a surgeon general who just shouldn't be in his job, doesn't know what he's doing, and I really, at this point, doubt that he's even a doctor, much less a surgeon. Or a surgeon, much less a doctor. But they had an opportunity early on. Should you wear a mask or should you not? Nobody really knew. Well, at that point, the people who wanted us to wear a mask had the opportunity to win us over because there's a whole bunch of undecided people, right? And so you have a chance to say, okay, listen, make a compelling case. If you make a compelling case, I'll wear a mask. And that's what most people would do. But what happened is you had all these people lying. You had the Surgeon General lie. You had Fauci lie. I mean, Fauci finally came out and said, listen, it's there to make you feel better. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't help you. It's not going to stop you from communicating it or getting the disease. But if it makes you feel safer, then hey, that's good too, right? Which is absolutely crazy to think a guy who's an infectious disease guy would sit here and say that out loud and not realize that people are looking at him like the biggest liar ever. And then this guy goes and throws out the first pitch at the Washington Nationals game. If you haven't seen this on Google, you need to watch it. Wears a mask on the mound. There's not somebody within 100 feet of this dude. And then he goes, sits down in the stadium, which, by the way, he's the only guy sitting in the stadium. He's sitting with two of his friends right in adjacent seats with his mask off. In fact, his two friends had masks on, but he had his mask off. So it was the epitome of like, oh, yeah, I don't have to wear a mask. I mean, his friends are wearing a mask. He's not. And they're not social distancing, which I thought that was a big thing for him. So they had an opportunity to win us over and to say, make a point, a compelling point, and to basically convince us to wear a mask. The problem is when you lie and when there's all kinds of other things going on, then people are like, well, that's BS. I don't believe you, right? And so then the government says, well, the heck with it. If you're not going to do what we tell you to do or suggest you to do, we're going to start punishing you legally. And in Miami, it's $100 fine for the first time you don't have a mask. I mean, it's crazy. It's an absolute crazy thing. So, and so people are like, wait a minute. We asked you to make a case for wearing a mask. You didn't make the case very well. We don't believe you. We're not doing it. And then once that happens, you say, well, we're going to punish you legally because you're not doing what we're saying. Well, American culture is really simple. When people do that, people rebel. And it started early on in our history with the Boston Tea Party. It's the same thing. If you're going to tell us to do something that we don't want to do, and when we've given you an opportunity to win us over, you failed to do it, and you said, well, screw it, the heck with it, I'm gonna make you do it, and I'm gonna punish you if you don't, people are gonna rebel. And they're already starting to do that. But when you start to see these numbers, and people aren't dumb, when you start to see people wake up and start to go, wait a minute, what happened to the death count? And then they realize, and they start to look, and they realize nothing's there, you're gonna see a big, big pushback. So don't believe anything you've heard in the last month in the media on any side, left or right. But in the next, I would say 2 weeks, it could be 3 or 4 weeks, but definitely within the next month, you're going to see a big comeback. So it's important you get your stock portfolio in the right place, get your cost basis down, and be ready to go. Because you can either be in a place where you're ready, and you're kind of almost like those preppers who always had all the supplies they needed, all the toilet paper, all the non-perishable food. People thought they were nuts, but when the COVID came, they were the smartest people in the room. Or you can sit here and go with the flow and get out or not take it seriously. And when things go up, you're going to absolutely kick yourself. So this is a point of time where you clear out the suckers. It's plain and simple. I grew up with shady people. I understood every ruse. I know how things work. I worked in the media. I understand how these things work. And the more you disagree with the media and have a skeptical view of what they're telling you on either side, the more successful you're going to be, the happier you're going to be, and in this case, the more money you're going to make. So with that being said, we'll check the futures later today. Right now, they're sitting here at plus 42. That literally means nothing. Even with that, you want to look at the NASDAQ because the NASDAQ is where the tech stocks are. That's why it's a little bit higher than the regular one. But we will see kind of where that plays out. But have a plan for when the stock goes down to benefit yourself, and have a plan for when the stock goes up to benefit yourself. So with that being said, I'll see you tomorrow. To get more information on the sales cheat code, go ahead and click on the subscribe button below. Also, down below in the video description, down there, there's a link that takes you to our website that gives you additional content, some additional freebies that we have, and gives you information on some programs that we have that have been proven to help people to make sales easy so that you can make the kind of money you want, live the lifestyle that you've always wanted, and not have to struggle in the process. And what might be the coolest thing of all is you don't have to put much effort into it. It truly is a cheat code that most people don't know about. And it's a cheat code that can change your life today. So click on the link below and let me help you start to experience these results starting right now.